Hey everyone, Bodie Morningway from Quantum Comics here again with episode number 2 of Coffee and Comic Books. All right, so as you can see by this big massive tome here, today's topic is none other than the Joker. So, Joker is a very interesting and complex villain. He's been around forever. And really, for a villain to have that kind of longevity is remarkable. Because really, Joker's been around since, I want to say the 30s. That's a long, long time. That's a very, very long time. Of course, Joker has gone through various incarnations in that time. He's gone from being very clownish, very goofy. If you remember, like the Adam West television show of the 60s, which I grew up on, which I absolutely adored. And Joker was very, very comical, as was most things in that show. But even with the comical, what was his name? Cesar Romero, I believe, was the actor that played him. Even with that comical role, you could see just a slight hint of the underlying menace that could be the Joker. And it obviously wasn't just me that saw that little bit, because throughout the 70s, when Batman was made into something more than just the happy-go-lucky caped crusader of the Adam West era, when he was starting to become the Dark Knight detective, you could see that the Joker was starting to change with him. And that's the most interesting thing with the Joker, is that interrelation with Batman, because as Batman has grown darker over the years, the Joker has grown darker over the years. Because it used to be that the Joker was just that. He was a bit of a joke. You know, back in the early days, he would come up with these grand schemes that wouldn't really do anything and go anywhere, and he'd be almost a bumbling type person. But of course, that has very much changed, starting with some of these stories where things start to become darker. He starts to really kill people, whereas before he was not so interested in doing that. He was just a Joker. But now some of those stories have been retold a little bit in a newer, more modern twist, such as this one. This is a trade paperback featuring the storyline of Batman, the Man Who Laughs. And what this is a modern retelling of the first time that Batman and the Joker, or at least one of the first times. I'm not 100% sure if it's the very first time, but it's one of the first times that Batman and the Joker met. And of course, this is not your bumbling Joker of the early days of comic book land, shall we say. This is the brutal, conniving, maniacal, and psychotic Joker of today being retold in those stories. This is a story written by Ed Brubaker, who's known for his crime-type drama, and Doug Mahnke is the artist. He does a lot of, I want to say, grisly kind of art, but that doesn't quite do it justice. It's very, very good, very dark kind of artwork. You can see some of it in there. Nice little things such as this. Very nice, very intriguing artwork. So Joker, yeah, he is obviously very psychotic, but here's the thing. He's not really crazy. Now let that sink in for just a minute. If the Joker isn't crazy, and all of his plans and hijinks and everything is not meant to just be an outreach of a twisted mind, then what is the Joker really? The answer to that, you can start to see it in places such as the JLA Salvation Run. What this is a while ago, all the DC heroes were trapped in another dimension. The heroes basically forgot about the villains, and they were left to their own devices to get back. And this is a story of that, in which you can see a lot more of the thinking Joker. See, the Joker is an agent of chaos. He's the ultimate agent of chaos. He does things not because he's crazy, but because he wants to get that chaos out into the world, that chaos that's trapped inside his heart and his mind. Of course, another great story for that is the Killing Joke, which highlights essentially the Joker's origin, or at least one of his origins. There's an old fun line with the Joker that says, "If I'm going to have a past, I'd like it to be multiple choice." And I think that really characterizes the Joker perfectly as a character. Of course, you can't go and talk about the Joker these days without talking about Harley Quinn. There are two great stories here, and of course, much more on our shelves, stocked full of trade paperbacks that you can still get, of course, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Harley, who initially was in love with the Joker and has since moved beyond that. Joker also has to come to grips with that, seeing his creation in his own mind take on a life of her own and a crew of her own, friends of her own after she leaves. This has an indelible effect on the Joker, even though he doesn't generally admit it within the comics. But in certain issues, you can see that, and it's very intriguing. Of course, the Joker's main adversary and main goal is always Batman. He's that opposite end of the coin from Batman, where he's just wanting to... I'm not even sure if he wants to kill Batman anymore. He wants to somehow torment Batman, and I think that's his main goal, to incite chaos, which is the opposite of Batman's order, to torment Batman by instilling this madness and mayhem all throughout the city of Gotham, which of course Batman that's his home. And I think if Batman ever moved out of Gotham, which is highly unlikely, but very likely, you would see the Joker follow him, just because that's his life goal. Anyways, all of these comics, many more storylines featuring Joker and others are available still here at Quantum Comics, your friendly neighborhood comic book store, and I will see you guys again soon for some more coffee and comic books. So long, Space Cowboys.